Cùlatanhàsankhaya Sutta. The shorter discourse on the ending of craving. So I have heard. At one time the Buddha was staying near Svarth in the stilt longhouse of Migra's mother in the eastern monastery. And then Sakka, Lord of Gods, went up to the Buddha, bowed, stood to one side, and said to him, a long account of Sakka's first meeting with the Buddha and conversion is found at DN 21. There he is said to have attained stream entry, and so is destined for full awakening. Yet even a stream enterer may slow their progress by negligence. SNP 2.1:9.3, Sakka's epithet Lord of Gods, Devnamindo, evokes his more familiar Sanskrit name, Indra. Sir, how do you briefly define a mendicant who is freed through the ending of craving, who has reached the ultimate end, the ultimate sanctuary from the yoke, the ultimate spiritual life, the ultimate goal, and is best among gods and humans? This question directly follows on from the final question at DN 21:2.6.9, where Sakka asks whether all ascetics and Brahmins have reached the ultimate goal. Here he delves deeper into what that means. Now that he is a confirmed Buddhist, Sakka switches from ascetics and Brahmins to mendicants. This passage has an exact parallel at AN 7.61:12.2, and a variation at SN 35:80.1. Lord of Gods, take a mendicant who has heard, nothing is worth insisting on. The Buddha is calling back to the previous conversation, where immediately before asking about the ultimate goal, Sakka had asked why all ascetics did not share a common doctrine, DN 21:2.6.6. The Buddha answered that, though the world has many and diverse elements, ascetics tend to fixate on one aspect and insist it is the only truth. When a mendicant has heard that nothing is worth insisting on, they directly know all things. Directly knowing all things, they completely understand all things. Completely understanding all things, when they experience any kind of feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, one who has learned the theory of non-attachment is still liable to become attached, so they apply their knowledge to experimental insight into all things. Normally, complete understanding, parin, indicates arahantship, but here it reinforces a direct knowledge, abhin, as the wisdom of stream entry. However, the force of attachment is so deeply ingrained that even a stream enterer, such as Sakka, with both theoretical and experimental wisdom is still not free. So they must then continue to meditate on the feelings in order to let go fully. They meditate observing impermanence, dispassion, cessation, and letting go in those feelings. Meditating in this way, they don't grasp at anything in the world. Not grasping, they're not anxious. Not being anxious, they personally become extinguished. They understand, rebirth is ended, the spiritual journey has been completed, what had to be done has been done, there is nothing further for this place. That's how I briefly define a mendicant who is freed through the ending of craving, who has reached the ultimate end, the ultimate sanctuary from the yoke, the ultimate spiritual life, the ultimate goal, and is best among gods and humans. Then Sakka, Lord of Gods, having approved and agreed with what the Buddha said, bowed and respectfully circled the Buddha, keeping him on his right, before vanishing right there. Now at that time Venerable Moggallna was sitting not far from the Buddha. He thought, did that spirit comprehend what the Buddha said when he agreed with him, or not? Moggallna refers to Sakka as a spirit. Yaka, why don't I find out? And then Venerable Moggallna, as easily as a strong person would extend or contract their arm, vanished from the eastern monastery and reappeared among the gods of the 33. Moggallna was the foremost in psychic powers at that time Sakka was amusing himself in the single lotus park, supplied and provided with a heavenly orchestra. A Pankajikatriya is a band of 5 musicians, a quintet. Here it is amplified 100-fold, so I translate orchestra. Single lotus, Ekapuaka, appears as an auspicious epithet in a prayer for wealth at Bhadrayaka Upanishad 6.3.6. Seeing Moggallna coming off in the distance, he dismissed the orchestra, approached Momoglna, and said, "Come, my good Moglna. Welcome, good sir. It's been a long time since you took the opportunity to come here. Sit, my good Moglna, this seat is for you." Momoglna sat down on the seat spread out, while Sakka took a low seat and sat to one side. Momoglna said to him, "Kosya, how did the Buddha briefly explain freedom through the ending of craving?" Moglna refers to Sakka as Kosya rather than the Buddha's Lord of Gods. Old gods like Sakka tend to accrue many names. The word Kosya is explained by the commentaries as Owl, which, if correct, would have been the totem for a clan of that name. It is, however, a patronymic. Rig Veda, the 1st of October, 11 has Indra Korsika, which means Indra, son of Kusika, or Kuzar. Kuzar grass is critical to the performance of Vedic rites, and the label probably initially implied Brahminized, i.e. a king whose reign was authorized according to Vedic ritual. Kosya is said to be a low-class family name, BUPC 2:2.1.18. Please share this talk with me so that I can also get to hear it. My good Moglna, I have many duties, and much to do, not only for myself, but also for the gods of the 33. Still, what is properly heard, learned, attended, and memorized does not vanish all of a sudden. The commentary reads no as a personal pronoun, amka, which results in the sense, even what I have well remembered quickly vanishes. This is logically dubious. How is it properly learned if it quickly vanishes? And contradicted below where Sakka shows that he does in fact remember perfectly well, MN 37 minutes and 12.5 seconds. Instead, read no as negative particle. Sakka is brushing Moglna off by insisting he has learned his lesson, without taking the trouble to actually remember it. Once upon a time, a battle was fought between the gods and the Titans. He tries to distract Moglna with talk of his glory days, rehashing vendettas that were old even in the Vedas. In that battle the gods won and the Titans lost. When I returned from that battle as a conqueror, I created the Palace of Victory. The Palace of Victory has 100 towers. Each tower has 700 chambers. Each chamber has 7 nymphs. Each nymph has 7 maids. Would you like to see the lovely Palace of Victory? Momoglna consented with silence. Then, putting venerable Momoglna in front, Sakka, Lord of Gods, and Vesavar, the great king, went to the Palace of Victory. Also known as Kuvera, DN 20 minutes and 9.31 seconds, SNP 2.14:6.1. The name Vesavar means son of the renowned from his father Visrava, although DN 32 minutes and 7.40 seconds explains it as from the name of his city. He is one of the 4 great kings and guards the northern quarter. When they saw Moglna coming off in the distance, Sakka's maids, being discreet and prudent, each went to her own bedroom. The maids are described as possessing the cardinal virtues of hiri, conscience, discretion, and atapa, prudence, the guardians of the world, and the foundations of moral integrity. Former translators have rendered this as if the maids were embarrassed and ashamed, but this is unwarranted. The maids were born in this realm as the result of their good karma in past lives and are simply residing there in their own home. Unlike Sakka, who neglected his lesson and then tried to distract attention when reminded of it, they have nothing to be ashamed of. They were just like a daughter-in-law who is discreet and prudent when they see their father-in-law. Then Sakka and Vesavar encouraged Moglna to wander and explore the palace, saying, "This is a good example of Anu Vikra in the sense of explore the see, in the palace, my good Moglna, this lovely thing. And that lovely thing." The gods are pointing out various pretty features in the palace. That looks beautiful for the venerable Kosya, as befits one who has made merit in the past. After Sakka's disappointing response, Moglna is trying to say something nice. At the same time, he subtly implies the difference between his past merit and present negligence. Humans, when they see something lovely, also say, "It looks beautiful enough for the gods of the 33." That looks beautiful for the Venerable Kosya, as befits one who has made merit in the past. Then Mogulna thought, this spirit lives much too negligently. Why don't I stir up a sense of urgency in him? Then Mogulna used his psychic power to make the palace of victory shake and rock and tremble with his big toe. Referred to at Thag 20.1:55.1. Mogulna displayed a similar wonder at SN 51.14:3.1, also a means of last resort in the face of negligence. Then Sakka, Vesavar, and the gods of the 33, their minds full of wonder and amazement, thought, oh, how incredible, how amazing. The ascetic has such power and might that he makes the gods' home shake and rock and tremble with his big toe. Knowing that Sakka was shocked and awestruck, Mogulna said to him, Kosya, how did the Buddha briefly explain freedom through the ending of craving? Please share this talk with me so that I can also get to hear it. My dear Mogulna, I approached the Buddha, bowed, stood to one side, and said to him, Sir, how do you briefly define a mendicant who is freed with the ending of craving, who has reached the ultimate end, the ultimate sanctuary from the yoke, the ultimate spiritual life, the ultimate goal, and is best among gods and humans? When I had spoken, the Buddha said to me, Lord of gods, it's when a mendicant has heard, nothing is worth insisting on. When a mendicant has heard that nothing is worth insisting on, they directly know all things. Directly knowing all things, they completely understand all things. Having completely understood all things, when they experience any kind of feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, they meditate observing impermanence, dispassion, cessation, and letting go in those feelings. Meditating in this way, they don't grasp at anything in the world. Not grasping, they're not anxious. Not being anxious, they personally become extinguished. They understand, rebirth is ended, the spiritual journey has been completed, what had to be done has been done, there is nothing further for this place. That's how I briefly define a mendicant who is freed through the ending of craving, who has reached the ultimate end, the ultimate sanctuary from the yoke, the ultimate spiritual life, the ultimate goal, and is best among gods and humans. That's how the Buddha briefly explained freedom through the ending of craving to me. Mogulna approved and agreed with what Sakka said. As easily as a strong person would extend or contract their arm, he vanished from among the gods of the 33 and reappeared in the eastern monastery. Soon after Mogulna left, Sakka's maid said to him, Good sir, was that the Blessed One, your teacher? No, it was not. That was my spiritual companion, Venerable Mogulna. Spiritual companion, Subramaka, normally refers to a fellow monastic, but here it alludes to the fact that both of them have seen the Dhamma. You're fortunate, good sir, so very fortunate, to have a spiritual companion of such power and might. We can't believe that's not the Blessed One, your teacher. Then Mogulna went up to the Buddha, bowed, sat down to one side, and said to him, Sir, do you recall briefly explaining freedom through the ending of craving to a certain well-known and illustrious spirit? It is unclear why Mogulna asked for a repetition of the teaching at which he was present. One might have expected that he would report to the Buddha the events at Sakka's palace. I do, Mogulna. And the Buddha retold all that happened when Sakka came to visit him, adding, That's how I recall briefly explaining freedom through the ending of craving to Sakka, Lord of Gods. That is what the Buddha said. Satisfied, Venerable Mogulna approved what the Buddha said.